Hey everybody, welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your host, Gordo Gambles, and welcome back to another full card DFS breakdown, this time for UFC Vegas 59. Now quickly, before I get into all these picks, let's talk about last week real quick. I was really happy with the way things went. I targeted the right fights. I think I did pretty well. The only thing I was really missing out on was I didn't have enough Hamdi ownership. I had way too much Dontel Mays, not enough Hamdi Abdelawab, and it cost me. That's my fault for trusting so much in a heavyweight Dontel Mays, but you live and you learn. I'm ready to bounce back on this slate. Speaking of bouncing back, it is Tuesday night right now. I just finished watching my winning streak, my betting winning streak for Dana White Contender Series, which lasted like 2.5 seasons, go out the door because of Chris Duncan absolutely just putting the lights out of my man Charlie Campbell. Probably shouldn't have said that because now you guys know how long it takes me to develop my videos. Point is, we're back for revenge, hungrier than ever, and ready to make some more money. Let's get into this. Let's see how I'm targeting this UFC slate. Now let's start things off with the main event. We have Thiago Santos going against Sweet Dreams Jamal Hill, which is going to be a really fun fight, but it's a really weird one because we haven't had that good success having high ownership on Thiago Santos' main events. It hasn't looked very pretty. I mean, he's the same guy who went there, scored up 48 points in a 5-round decision. I mean, the guy's content with striking and having a stare competition for 5 rounds, and that's not something I want to see. Sure, he has power, but I don't think he's that same explosiveness that he always had. He's just not a guy that I really want to be rostering in a lot of DraftKings lineups. I don't see that same explosiveness, wanting to win, and really that high DraftKings scoring mentality that I'm used to seeing from Thiago Santos. Only 2.89 DraftKings points per minute, and what makes it even worse is he's only really getting 2.17 against. However, I don't think that matters as much as it really should because he's facing Jamal Hill. All my ownership on this fight, or most of it at least, I shouldn't say all, but most of my ownership on this fight is going to be on the Jamal Hill side. I think that he's a guy who brings the pace, who brings the power, who has that will to win that you want to see in a guy you're rostering on DraftKings. He himself averages 3.9 points per minute on DraftKings, and I really think that's a side for this one. 9K flat, I mean, he averages 70 points. That's including him getting his arm snapped by Mr. Paul Craig. His last 3 wins, I mean, he's going out there, he's getting knockouts in all 3 of those, and he's scoring decently well. I do think that Jamal Hill is the rightful favorite in the spot. I do think he goes out there, pushes a pace, and gets a finish here, and I do think he's a decent option at 9K. With that being said, I'm not as high on this fight as I should be because the other side. Usually with these main events, I want both guys who go out there and have good finish equity, who have a good ability to put up points in their own rights, such as the Nunes versus Pena fight last week, because both of those girls had a high ceilings. I don't think Thiago Santos has that high of a ceiling this week, and therefore it's a really tough fight because Thiago Santos is completely content with striking for 5 rounds and being a slow striking affair with that being said. So I think Jamal Hill is the rightful favorite. I think he has more finishing equity. I think he has the higher ceiling. And at 9K, he's definitely a guy I'm going to want to roster this week. All right, 3 fights I want some decent ownership on. First things first, Terrence McKinney. Every time he fights, you have to take notice. This guy comes to finish, and he comes to finish early. This guy has really good power, submission game, grounding game, really well-rounded fighter. For 1 round. He doesn't have the best cardio. We saw it last time out. He completely expended himself against Drew Dober, and I do think this is a spot really for him that he's going to need to finish early. With that being said, I definitely think it's doable. He's facing a guy in the Ghost Pepper, Gonzalez, and unfortunately for him, it really looks like a spot that maybe is being set up for a guy like Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney's all action, all fun. He's a fan favorite. Everyone loves watching him because he's so electrifying. Really early finishes. And I mean, 3 fights, all of them ending in that first round. He's what you want to target on DraftKings. With that being said, I can't have 100% ownership on Terrence McKinney, not only because his price tag, but only because he's got 1 round. He doesn't have that same decision criteria that someone else will. I think that the win condition for a guy in Eric Gonzalez is going to be a finish in his own right, a finish when Terrence McKinney gets gassed. So both these guys have really, really high ceilings. With that being said though, the most likely outcome is Terrence McKinney goes out there and steamrolls him early. Gonzalez has been cracked. Terrence McKinney can crack, and I do think it's a spot where he's really built up to succeed. 9.5K, it may be really steep, but he's a guy I'm really going out there and rostering. I really love his upside. I really love his chances to win this fight, and I think he goes out there and lives up to that 9.5K price tag. Let's get a more appealing fight to target though. Let's talk about Jason Witt versus the UFC newcomer Josh Quinlan. Now, we all know the Vanilla Gorilla. We love me some Jason Witt. The guy has no chin, no striking, but he's a good wrestler. This is another spot where you're going to want to target both sides because both their upsides are very high. With that being said, it doesn't matter how much upside a guy might have. One fighter has a better chance to win than the other, and that is going to be Josh Quinlan in this spot. Quinlan's coming off the Dana White Contender Series. We haven't seen that much from him. It is really his first check of UFC competition, but I mean, he's got a really rounded game. BJJ black belt, tons of power. We saw that Dana White Contender Series, and he's facing Jason Witt. If Jason Witt stands on the feet with this guy for any amount of time, his chin will crack just like it has several times before. I mean, I can repeat myself over and over again, but Jason Witt, the Vanilla Gorilla, has no chin. I need you guys to remember that. So whenever you're placing a bet on him, no matter how much his wrestling and ground game upside he may have in this spot, He's got no floor. He's an absolute risk every time you have him in the lineup. And it's terrifying to really roster him in a lot of spots here because he could very well go out there and get starched in the first 10 seconds, such as he did to Matthew Semmelsberger. So I want both sides because Jason Witt has that wrestling upside. His win condition scores very well. I mean, he averages 4.99 DraftKings points per minute. That's absolutely insane. But on the other hand, the win condition for Josh Quinlan is that knockout. Something that I think is very, very attainable, and that in its own right scores very, very well for an 8.6K price tag. All right, heavyweight time. Sergey Spivac versus Augusto Sakai. Another really fun fight, but another one that I think does finish inside the distance. I'm taking the Sergey Spivac side, and let me tell you why. It's striker versus grappler. The better grappler in this spot is going to be Sergey Spivac, and I don't think he's going to have that much resistance taking it to the ground. I think he's the better grappler, the better wrestler, and I think the ground and pound can very well put out Augusto Sakai in this spot. However, the win condition for Augusto Sakai is, you guessed it, gonna be a knockout. Heavyweight power, he throws bombs. Spivac has been finished in the past. I think it's another spot where Sakai only needs one. He may not be the better fighter, he may be completely outclassed on the ground, but what he does have is a chance. Because at heavyweight, with that power, with that ability to crack someone who has been cracked before, it is a decent look on DraftKings. With that being said, the official pick is going to be Sergey Spivac, I think at 8.8K. I think at 8.8K, he does have a decent upside here at 3.89 fantasy points per minute in the first place. I think the guy has the ability to go out there, take him down repeatedly, score some good takedowns, control time, ground and pound points, and realistically get out Augusto Sakai in this spot here. A lot of favorites. We got to get a dog in there. I mean, let's just talk about the on-paper matchup here first. Miranda Granger sitting at 7.1K is pretty funny just because of all the advantages she does have on paper. I think I said that twice. You're not only going to have a 4-inch height advantage, but a 10-inch reach advantage. And I think that this is a spot where you're going to have the bigger, more physically imposing fighter at such a dog price tag. It's going to be very tempting. And for women's MMA, I do think that she has a decent floor in this spot. However, with that being said, if we look at the skill sets and the path to victory for the fighters, McKenna could definitely go out there and wrestle her with a decision. But is she going to do that? Showed very questionable fight IQ against Elise Reed. Really struggled to close the range there. And I think this is a spot where that could definitely happen again. The better striker is Miranda Granger. The lengthier striker is Miranda Granger. With that being said, the better grappler, the guy with more takedown upside is going to be McKenna. On paper, I think if you just look at these guys sized up, Miranda Granger could have some really good physical attributes that could win her this fight here. I think that if McKenna has that same game plan of striking for the whole 15 minutes, Miranda Granger could win this fight. However, a lot of ifs. The more talented fighter is McKenna. However, 7.1K is really, really appealing. Last but not least, let's talk about the Queen of Violence, Ariane Lipski, 8.4K. I do think it's a spot where she may go a bit overlooked. Women's fighters don't typically have the same amount of ownership, and I do think that she has a decent spot to finish this fight here. I mean, she's facing zombie girl Priscilla Cachoeira, someone who gets hit a ton and is going to be at a huge ground disadvantage to someone in the likes of Ariane Lipski. I think that Lipski has the ability to go out there to land a lot of punches, who does possess power, but also take her down, get takedowns point, control points, mission attempts, and truly just win this fight. I think that at 8.4K, her ceiling's super high, but her floor is also insanely high. I really like a dart throw in the mix of Ariane Lipski because I do think she has good finish ability here and a very good ceiling to go along with that. I don't mind her at 8.4K. But let's wrap up the rest of the card, starting off with the two Ultimate Fighter finales. First things first, the heavyweights. You have someone in Zach Pauga, who's a pretty hefty favorite at 8.9K, 7.3K, the return from Muhammad Usman. And yes, you heard it right, Usman, the brother of Kamaru Usman. And skill-wise, they're nowhere alike. Muhammad Usman has a lot to work on. He's a guy who's really just getting himself into the game and really has a lot of spots to improve on. But I'm not completely sold on Zach Pauga. Used to be an NFL fighter. I do think he's a very explosive, powerful guy, but Usman's going to be bigger. He's going to be younger. I do think he's the true heavyweight here. Zach Pauga has really only fought for like 2 years. I mean, he's still new to the game, and where he's explosive, is a natural athlete. He could probably make 205. With all the firepower and finish ability we have up top, the top echelon of this price range, I don't necessarily see myself getting to Zach Pauga as much as I want to. Instead, I actually have more ownership on the dog, Muhammad Usman. I do think he has the ability to go out there, not look as bad as his price tag entails, and really make it a close fight. He's a powerful, bigger guy, and you have to assume that his coaching is going to be a lot better, knowing his brother is going to be Kamaru Usman. But with that being said, really a fight I'm not really getting to as much as I want to. And the female fight, Julianne Minner versus Brogan Walker. I do think this is a really interesting matchup and a really fun one. More talented, more experienced fighter is going to be Brogan Walker. I do think she has a decent ability to go out there and use her vet experience to win the fight. 2-1 on the return for Julianne Minner, and she is the favorite. 2-1. I mean, she shows great heart, great resiliency last time out, but that was on the Ultimate Fighter. This is going to be the best opponent she's faced, the most experienced opponent she'd faced, and someone who I really do think has her beat. Miller does have a black belt. With that being said, so does Walker. I think the best asset of Miller's game is her heart and her ground game, and I do think that Walker has her covered on the ground and also is the far superior striker. I think it's dog or pass here for me, 7.9K. That's the side I'm going for Brogan Walker. Sam Alvey time. 9.3K for his opponent, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Yeah, I have to. I think that the most likely outcome is going to be that knockout from Mikhail. He is dropping down a weight class, but with that being said, he carries power, great pressure, decent durability. I do think he just melts Sam Alvey. With that being said, Sam Alvey's one condition is to counter hook, and he's going to have the opportunity to counter. Michelle's going to walk forward. He's going to pressure him. He's not going to let Sam Alvey stay at range. Instead, I think he's going to go out there, hunt the body, hunt the head, because he is a really talented boxer. And really make Sam Alvey work. With that being said, Sam Alvey with condition is that counter hook. It's not impossible. It's just not very likely to happen. Give me Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. It's just really hard to get to him at 9.3K. Luke Neal, give me Luke. More finishing ability, more power, better ground game, better durability. And I do think that Neal has the speed advantage and probably the ability to go around the outside, but I don't think Luke will let that happen. He needs to press forward, land the bigger shots. I think he's the minute winner. With that being said, 8.5K, there's a lot of guys with a lot higher ceilings in this spot, a lot higher floors. And I'm really struggling to get to Vicente Luque, although I do like him a lot in this spot. Bueno Silva versus Egger. I mean, I get the love for Egger. Bigger fighter, good ground game, but everyone's overlooking MBS. Great durability, walks forward, decent combinations on the feet, but a great ground game as well. I think if Egger does get it there, MBS off her back is no joke. I do think that she has a really good finish upside of the spot, and on the feet, she is the better striker. Give me the 8.2K favorite in Bueno Silva. I do think that she's ability to go out there and score decently high. And last but not least, Brian Battle versus Takashi Soto. This is a tough one for me to call. I'm going to lean Pooh Bear. I mean, he's a taller, lengthier, younger fighter in the spot. I do think he has a decent chance to go out there and win this fight. Got that takedown upside, decent power on the feet, size advantage, but am I really going to run to roster him at 8.7K above the people with higher ceilings? It's another hard one to get to. However, I do pick another favorite in Brian Battle this week. But there we have it. That is the entire UFC slate covered top to bottom. I've talked about every single fight, and hopefully you guys have drawn a little bit of knowledge to that. Now we're at the point where I got to ask you guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I do these each and every week. I appreciate all your love and support. In terms of other stuff I'm doing, check me out on Twitter at GamblesGorder to see everything I'm doing. But Dana White Contender Series every Monday, HubSpot Radio Breakdown every Wednesday, and then I do throw in a live stream every now and then with Leah Picks Fights, usually Thursday night, but a ton of content. Hopefully you guys get around to checking that out as well, and again, showing some love on those videos as well. But with that, I hope everybody enjoys the fights this weekend. Good luck on all your bets and DraftKings lineups, and let's make some money, guys. Ding.